Okay, so all of you on the call, if you do not hear that recording in progress and Tyler or I start talking, please raise your hand, send fire emojis, do something that let us know that we have once again not hit the record button. All of these podcasts are on our website. So, it's just one of those things that if you want to go back and look at something, you can go back and watch it. But we want them all on there. But if we don't record them, then you don't get it. So for the recording, I get to say this a third time. We're now going weekly. We're going to go back to weekly instead of monthly. The first week, we're going to talk about systems and processes. We're going to try and help give you some guidance on just different aspects of the asset management and different ways that you can do it. And a lot of these systems will flow over to, when you're doing acquisitions, when you're doing underwriting. We want you to have things that are going to be able to be useful for the whole life of the term of the property. And then the second week are going to be KPIs, and those are key performance indicators. I basically call them my metrics or my benchmarks. There's all different people refer them to different things, but in the multifamily world, people call them KPIs, key performance indicators. And these are just benchmarks that you can look at that are going to let you know, is the property moving forward or is it sliding back? Sometimes we can see it on a weekly, where we're just looking at every week. Sometimes you might have to look at it over a month, like a month's time to be able to see, are we making a difference and how is that? And then we want to talk about what affects those KPIs. What is creating that KPI? Where's the number coming from? And then once we understand where the number's coming from, then we want to talk about how do we change that number, good or bad, depending on what it is. So we want to be able to give you some good strategies on that to help influence those KPIs. Then the third week is going to be about underwriting. And since I'm not an underwriter, I'm not going to talk.
That's going to be me. I'm going to talk about underwriting.
What about underwriting? Come on, give us a little more.
Oh man, how do you sum up underwriting? Yeah, we're going to talk about all the do's and don'ts and the fastest way to say no, and how to include other income that makes sense to you and to your investors, and how to exclude other income that you probably should count out because you don't want people to skip or have month to months. And we'll talk about locale and how to look that up, and is the city a good place to be in? Is the zip code a good place to be in? Are these all indicators that you can look for? How to just look at something and talk about insurance and how to get insurance quotes and how to get loan broker quotes and all of the fun stuff that goes into underwriting. Because in the end, as an underwriter, I write the business plan, and as the asset manager, Cindy executes the business plan. So if we are not working hand in hand day one, what are we doing? And so,
Making a mess.
yeah,
That's what
making
we're
a mess.
doing.
Yep, one of us is making a mess, and the other one is trying our best to clean it up. And so it very, very much goes hand in hand. And so we will talk about all of the do's and don'ts of underwriting.
Well, I want to say right before we got on this call, we met and had a quick conversation. We have a property that we're looking at, and Tyler told me the very first thing about the property, and because of that, it's a no-go. So here is your tip, even though it is not week three. What was the conversation, Tyler, and how did that go?
Yeah, well, the conversation was, hey, you sent me over this property to underwrite, and first thing I pulled up was the statistics of that area, and it has the most murders in that city. And so we probably don't want to be in that area. And
Yep.
so it's a very, very quick way of saying thank you, but no thank you. We're not very interested in that particular property.
Yep. Yep. So there's you go. There you go. Always look at the crime rate because, and Tyler, I'll quote Tyler, you can change the property, but you cannot change what goes on outside the property. So as much as we work on from complex to community and we really strive to bring those aspects in of creating a community. We can do it on the property, but we cannot control what happens across the street or next door. So crime is very, very important. And then the fourth week is going to be what's called Cindy's Believe It or Not. And basically, it is the stories you guys want to hear. It is the craziness that we deal with. And we'll tell you what we did. Sometimes we do it right. Sometimes it's a learning curve for us, but that will save you. So you'll know how to do it the next time. So we just want to kind of share with you some of the things that have happened. We have 8 properties, so you can imagine we have a list pretty long that we can go over. So that will be the fourth week. And then if there is a fifth week, just keep this in mind. It's going to be Stump the Asset Manager. And that means that you get to ask questions and try and stump me. So, and I don't know, I may make up the answer, but we'll see what happens. But that way, it'll just be a good Q&A, a good time to chat, and to it's very, very less formal. Of course, there's not that many 5 Fridays or 5 Mondays anyway, so it'll just be a couple of times that we have it. So we're super excited to bring this to you. One of the things that we feel really important about is our systems. And I know that we have talked with you guys before about some of the systems that we already have in place. And I will tell you that Excel is really your friend, that we do everything through Excel, although we save everything in a Google Drive. So I'm not sure, Tyler can tell you more about the technical part of it, but every property that we work on, it has its own Google Drive, and then it has the folders in it. But when we're working on our processes, we definitely use Excel because of being able to calculate. Sometimes he has to send me to a different place to go find it. So I'm not sure. I'm not very technical, apparently. Um, but we just want you to know that our goal for all of this, by the time we're done, is if you watch this, let's say for a good 6 months, you'll have a great understanding and you'll have definitely things that you can implement and put into place that are going to help you move forward. Now, I'd like to ask, are there people on the call? I guess you can just raise your hand maybe if you are interested in becoming an asset manager. And it's okay if you're not. I'm just trying to get an idea because we do know that asset managers and underwriters need to work together. So thank you for that. I just want to kind of have an idea because we are trying to balance it. It's heavier on the asset management, but there might come a time that we actually make it put a little bit more underwriting in it. So for now, based on the number of hands that went up, we are definitely going to keep the focus on asset management. But stay tuned. This will be, well, we've done it, I think, 3 years. So we're always trying to get you information. And as we come up with new systems and new processes, we share those with you because we want you to have those. Um, so today, one of the things I wanted to cover, and a lot of you may already have this. This is one of the reasons why I thought we could do it today, so that as we're moving forward, I can make sure we don't miss anything. Is we do have a questionnaire for the property management company. And I want to talk about that because we just closed on a property in Tyler, Texas. Um, and we have a system that we used with the property management company. And so if you will just drop an asterisk in the chat, Tyler will send you that. We have your address because you did register for the Zoom. You have to register. So you've already registered, but we do have your address. We will send it to you. And that way we'll make sure that you get it. But I want to talk about it a little bit, and then Tyler will talk about his experience doing it when he was tasked to talk to the property manager. So when we go to look at a property, we know that we're going to want a property manager that's going to be able to take care of the property. And there's a couple of different ways to decide. One way is, I think, a way that a lot of us kind of decide where we're going to eat dinner. and that is reviews. Like we're going to look at a review. We're going to, put in the town that it's in and look up some reviews and see that could be a starting place. I always recommend that you interview three property managers. So that's actually three is my magic number for everything. I have to have three bids. You have to interview three. And so one way to find them is through reviews. You can also, if you belong to any kind of community, whether it is, RE Mentor or multifamily, or if you're on this call and you have a property, you know that you can reach out to High Caliber and ask us, hey, do we have a property management company that we would recommend or not recommend? So you feel free to let us help you in that as well. Um, we do look for a footprint in the town. So, for example, um, we do have several properties that are with a national property management company, so they have a good footprint all over the United States. We have another property manager that he was a referral. He was someone we met a guy and he was talking to us and we told him where we were looking and he goes, I have the perfect property manager for you. And we're so excited. And so we got the guy's name and number. But let me ask you this. Did we hire him or did we interview other people? What do you guys think?
Both interviewed others.
Yep, I think he interviewed others.
I think you're right. We did hire him, but we interviewed others. The first time we met him, I knew that we were going to hire him, but guess what? You don't want to do that. You want to do your due diligence because always remember you are responsible for other people's money. And switching property management companies is very expensive because it is. We'll get into that one week about how that switches. But let me tell you, it costs about $10,000 minimum to switch property managements. And so even though the first time I met him, I'm like, this guy is absolutely perfect. I want to hire him. I would not. And other people, because we have a couple other people that interviewed him as well, they're like, hire him. And I'm like, no, not until we talk to two other people, because we want to make sure that we're really making that right decision. And so, the reason we hired him is he did have a footprint in that town. So he wasn't a national property management company. He was a local, but he does have other properties, which means he understands some of the laws of that town. He understands some of the way the politics work in that town. And so as we're meeting with him and we see he kind of has his fingers in a few things, like this is a guy that's plugged in because he knew what businesses were coming to town. He knew things that are happening in the town. And so, because of that, and because he did have systems in place and he could take on the property, we did hire him. So, it's very important that they have a footprint. Um, Now, sometimes we have looked at places where there is no footprint, we don't know anyone, and that's when we reach out to our resources and we're like, hey, we're looking to hire a property management. Does anyone have anyone that they're using in this particular area? And we'll get feedback, good and bad. And that's really what we want. We want to know, hey, look at these people or hey, stay away from these, because that's going to help us. That's going to shorten our learning curve as we are, buying this property. So I have a list of questions that it's just a basic Excel. And what I do is I just put the property name at the top and the name of the property management company. And I just do three columns side by side. And I as I interview them, I ask the questions and I type their answer in when I'm getting it. So when I'm done, I'm able to look straight across. You know, what, what is their policy with fair housing? I can look straight across and see what that says. Or, any of the other questions that are on the list. And that way I can really compare apples to apples. And if you're asking the questions and they're not really understanding the question that you're asking, just keep clarifying because you want to make sure that you definitely are comparing. one of the things, excuse me, that I like to know the people that I'm talking with. And so what I try to do is rather than just say, hey, here's this question, boom, 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 I'll try and have a little bit of a conversation. I try and work some of the questions into our conversation. And then after, 5 minutes or so, I'll say, hey, I have this list of questions. Do you mind if we run through it? And that way, then we can kind of expedite, move along quicker, quicker, quicker. But in the very beginning, don't rush that because you want to get an idea of who they are, what are their, kind of what are their policies on things? How do they feel about the apartment complex or about the area? We had a property management that we hired that we shouldn't have because you know what? They did not really believe that that property would work, would make good money. And we did not know that. So that was something that I should have spent a little more time talking with them and getting to know them better. Because if I would have been able to kind of figure that out, then we would have never hired them because you want someone that's going to believe in your property. So you're going to ask them about what are the schools like? What kind of traffic do you see in the area? You know, after you've looked up to see whether or not is the number one murder place in the town, you want to ask those kind of questions. Now, Tyler did this for me because I don't even remember what property it was, but he helped me interview because I do believe in the interviews. So I'm going to let him tell you his experience with that.
Yeah, I've actually interviewed quite a few different property management companies because as an underwriter, when I'm looking to finish up my underwriting and tidy it up, part of that is the property management side. I need to know what they're going to charge for their controllables, and I need to know what percentage the property management fee is going to cost us. And so I don't know, I've probably interviewed like 15 different property management companies. But here's my like 10,000-foot overview of kind of what that looks like, right? So first and foremost, I kind of shared a little bit of the Excel spreadsheet. It doesn't look pretty, but it's very functional. We'll probably make it look pretty here soon, to be honest. And every single question is extremely necessary on there. And that was something that I had to learn the hard way because I'm like, this is a dumb question. Why would I even ask that? And then I talked to Cindy and she was like, well, here's why it's, not dumb to ask that question. So that's number one. Tip number two is when you're interviewing property management companies, Cindy said 3, right? And I would say at a minimum 3. Because even the one that we interviewed that we're like, we're for sure moving forward with this guy, but we need to do our own due diligence and make sure that it is the right fit. We interviewed 4 property management companies for that because in the end, it will only serve you better to have a bigger pool of experience, what they think and what they know of the area and what they think this property can do. So that's tip number 2. Always interview at least 3, if not more. Tip number 3, I love having a national property management company in my back pocket, right? I can interview them and send them info every single property because they have a footprint everywhere. And in the end, we might go with them, we might not. It just depends on what that looks like. But find a really good national property management company that works throughout the nation and always interview them for the property that you're going for. And then
Yes.
reach out to your resources. Hey, does anybody have a property management company in this area? We're all a part of different communities on Facebook and Instagram and all that stuff. Reach out to them. There are tons of people that are willing to share. So find some local people, find someone who has a property in that area and loves their property management company. Because in the end, your property management company honestly could make or break your property very, very quickly. And so
It's
you need a really, really solid property management company in there. And unfortunately, if they can steal from you, they probably will. And so you need a really solid asset manager to go through the numbers and make sure that, I don't know, we're not double paying someone's brother-in-law to do multiple work multiple times. Not saying that that's happened before, but
No.
yeah, that would be a very, very uh, specific example of a way that that could happen if you're not auditing your books properly.
Yes.
Tip number 4 or 5, I don't remember anymore. Talk to your investors, your current investors. A lot of them are on different properties. What properties are doing well? What property management do they use on their properties that are doing well? And are they in the areas that you're looking at? Right? And grow that network, because you'll never be sad that you interviewed a property management company up in Ohio that was a fantastic property management company that fit every single box that you were looking at, but you weren't able to hire them then. You might be able to hire them later, right? And then my last tip on property management companies, you have to make sure that their mission, vision, and values align with what you and your team are trying to accomplish. So if they do not have the vision of this property is succeeding, Cindy covered that, or this property being moved from a complex to a community, are they community oriented? Do they even care about tenants? That's one of the problems of a national property management company is a lot of the times it's a number. And sometimes with the local property management companies, it's too personal. And they need to be a little bit of a number, because when you start defaulting multiple months in a row, unfortunately, it doesn't matter what your circumstance is, we have to take action. And sometimes local companies have a hard time taking action because that's their next door neighbor, their best friend, whatever it is. And so there has to be a balance between those two, and you have to find that balance when you hire somebody. So those are my tips and tricks for property management companies.
Thank you so much, Tyler. Yes, you have interviewed many, and I appreciate it. I love the questions that you ask and the information that you come back with. If you ever want to practice, just set a schedule with Tyler. Say, hey, I want to practice interviewing a property management. Will you pretend to be one? He's great to role play with, so feel free to do that. Aren't you glad I offered your services, Tyler?
Oh, as always. Kim, I have heard of AFI before. Somehow I recently got signed up on their on their like email list lately, and so I've been seeing a lot more of them. I have interviewed, and anytime that you interview a property management company, you're usually interviewing the regional. And so if you're going to a different area of the country, you need to set up another interview, because the regional is going to be different from one place to the next. And really, your regional is the person that's going to hire the people that work inside the building if you're not retaining the current staff, and then they're going to report to that regional. So the relationship between the regional is what needs to be very, very, very important for you. And it's not
Yes.
necessarily as a company, this company's great. Every regional is different. You could have
Yeah.
fantastic regionals and you can have really poo-poo regionals in the same company. So you have to find that balance in there. So I've interviewed AFI, I think once or twice, but it was in 2 different regions. So, but yes, thank you for bringing that one up. That is a national company that a lot of people do use. But again, you have to figure out what regional you have, and are they going to fit what you actually are trying to do.
And thank you for bringing that up, Tyler, because if you are doing national, you definitely want to interview with the regional. You don't want to interview with someone else and then find out, oh my gosh, this isn't even who I'm working with. So I did see the question, how soon do we replace? We are slow to hire and quick to fire. So 90 days is the max. So if I start getting a little feeling like, I don't know about this, and I get them, then I will start looking for a property management, and it'll take me about 30 days to find a new one. And then we start working with the new property management at the same time as the current. They just don't know yet that they're being replaced. And then we'll go out and do the changeover anywhere between 60 and 90 days. The sooner the better, because it's costing you money every day that you have someone in there that is not in your best interest and in the best interest of your investors. So Well, I hope you guys enjoyed today. We're going to keep it at 30 minutes so that you're able to block it out every Monday. I know that Tyler has some things that he'll be sending out to you. Next week, we're going to talk about KPIs. And so hopefully you'll be able to join us and we can start down that process because we really want to help you to get some good education. And we appreciate you joining us. Tell your friends, share the link, because the more people we have on here, the better. The more we educate asset managers, the more money properties are going to make. So that's our goal.